Hello and welcome back to Tuesdays on the Den. That's right, JD here, back once again after a brief hiatus with illness. Let's get this going. So you probably noticed my new setting that I have for today. We are actually in my office. I am recording my video on my break today. I was unable to get this recorded last night. I am still in the throes of a battle for my health against mono, and I am taking the opportunity that I have with a break at work to film this video. In line with my previous topic that I had selected on vaccinations, I've decided to do a topic by our viewer, Steve Constable. Thank you so much for providing this topic. It is the CDC's decision to finally admit that HIV cannot be transmitted if one is undetectable. This is amazing news. The Centers for Disease Control finally made the announcement that if an individual with HIV is clinically determined to be undetectable. This is JD. Whoopsie, had a minor interruption there. Had somebody have to call me in off of my break for a moment. So back to what I was saying about the CDC. So what ultimately determines somebody to be undetectable by CDC standards is when you are in a classification of having HIV where your viral load is low enough where that the likelihood of you transmitting your disease is less than 4%. So the effectiveness of your regimen puts you at a 96% chance that you are not actually going to transmit the disease. While this will never be 100%, and safer sex methods should always be utilized, such as the condoms, dental dams, female condoms, and other barrier methods, it does go without saying that people with HIV and are undetectable and have undetectable viral loads should sort of in one essence or another be seen as HIV negative. And while all members of a community who are sexually active, and that goes if you're straight, gay, bisexual, asexual, I don't care what you are, if you have had sex whatsoever, you should be getting regularly tested, even if you are in a monogamous relationship, because as many of us know in the world, even monogamous relationships have their hiccups. So getting tested regularly is a part of everyone's regimen, and that goes for people who are HIV positive. Just because you are tested HIV positive, it is not a death sentence anymore. More and more people are realizing this level of undetectability every single day. If you follow your ART, which is antiretroviral therapy medications, regularly, you work with a primary doctor, you work with a virologist, an immunologist, you can achieve this level of health and you can maintain that for a lifetime. Now, what should also be said is why the CDC took so long declaring it that undetectable means untransmittable. A lot of it has to unfortunately deal with politics and social stigma. For a very long time, in retrospect to a lot of diseases across the world, HIV is relatively new, where we have seen things like typhoid and we've seen polio for generations and generations and generations. We also have a guest today. She comes with me to work every now and then as my service dog. And so she gets to chill at work with Dad every so often. Anyways, HIV is relatively new to the epidemiological world, to the CDC, in terms of when it became prevalent enough for us to understand. And we're looking at the late 70s into the 80s, where the HIV and AIDS epidemic was at an all-time high. This created a social stigma, a medical stigma. There were doctors in the country and around the world, rather, that simply wouldn't treat people because of the stigmas around it. Well, if you shake somebody's hand, if you kiss them, realistically, the only way to transfer HIV to another person is through sexual contact or blood-to-blood transfer. There has to be an open wound, or you have to be given a blood transfusion that is tainted. Because of more conservative pushes in government, we are unable to effectively fund HIV treatment therapies, programs. We're not able to really truly pay for HIV programming, getting people who are HIV positive on the correct medications so that they can start ART and become undetectable because of stigma. We see a lot of that as it's their fault if they were only more careful, or in the ultra-conservative circles, it's the gay disease. We've heard that quite a bit, despite the fact that some of the highest growing populations of people with HIV, new HIV cases, are middle-aged white women. Bing! And different medical circles are going to say that it is people of color, but in more prominent social circles, so that's groups of people that are higher in the socioeconomic circle, they tend to be middle-aged white women that are well off, that are contracting and transmitting HIV. So we can get rid of the stigma that it's a gay disease. That's dumb. Did it afflict a particular community more than others? Yes, it did. Part of it had to do with how people interacted with one another sexually. It's just kind of the nature of the beast when it comes to that. So in the 80s, going through the 90s, a lot of programs came into existence that assisted people that were HIV positive, such as the Ryan White program, which is a great program. If you can donate to that program, I highly recommend it. I'll put a link down below to the Ryan White program if you are interested in more information or would like to make a donation. It's a program that funds individuals who fall within certain categories that can't afford ART, and they can't afford to get on their medications, and they can't afford to see a virologist or an immunologist to be the healthiest versions of themselves that they can be, because people with this virus oftentimes get ostracized into a medically untouchable group of people, which is pathetic. And as I said in my previous video about vaccination, if you're a doctor and your big spiel is first do no harm, and the first thing you do is deny a person the basic right to healthcare, you're a garbage human being. I don't like you. Millions of people around the world hate you, and you shouldn't be practicing medicine. End of story. So now that the CDC has the gall to officially announce that people who are undetectable are untransmittable, you cannot pass on HIV from somebody who is undetectable. Now, that being said, with a little asterisk in the corner, we also can't say that with 100% impunity. That's like saying condoms work 100% of the time. They don't. You can't blame the condom factory for your condom breaking. Sometimes it just doesn't work, and that comes with the territory. If an individual who is HIV positive and they achieve undetectable levels, and then they choose to not adhere to their ART, and then their viral load goes up and they end up infecting someone, that is not somebody who's undetectable. That is somebody who is very much so detectable, that is not being responsible with their own health. I think in the future, in some other video, I will do a piece on how I feel about legislation that criminalizes HIV when it comes to transmitting it to partners, and the broad nature that those laws create a whole new level of inconsistencies in the public health realm. So that being said, I am going to take some more of my cold medicine to try and beat this nasty, ghastly beast that is mono. Try and breathe again through my nose, take my glasses off because these feel like they're gonna rip my face off with sinus pressure, and then I gotta take the dog out because I don't want her pooping in my office. So thank you so much again for watching. It feels great to be back on The Den. Thank you for watching this Tuesday. See you next week. We have a lot of really great topics coming up in the next week, and I will see you next Tuesday. Bye.